And we're live. Hi,
Yay.
everybody. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Vanessa.
Hi, Vanessa.
How's everyone going? How's your month?
What a month.
What it is?
So hot.
Oh my God. Too hot. Unacceptably hot.
Yeah, we went to the splash park today.
That is weird and hard to
So cooled down a bit, but
you what?
We went to the splash park to cool down a bit today, but fall cannot come fast enough.
I'm ready for it.
That's fair. That's fair. We are the opposite right now. We are very cold.
Jealous.
I miss it. I miss cold.
Soon, and then I'll be the one complaining, and you guys will be like, "Yeah, it's cold."
Exactly.
Yes, precisely.
Anyway, let's talk about a book / movie.
Which one, I wonder? Just a book?
Yeah,
any book?
Any.
Yeah.
Who knows? Which one?
Or a movie.
Or any movie.
Any movie. Doesn't even have to be a book. Just go to town.
Or maybe this one?
Yeah.
I recommend talking about this one. Can we talk about it? How it fills up my entire section? Oh, we all have different editions. So cute.
Your edition is so beautiful, Julia. I do love it.
So
it's for the anniversary, the 30th anniversary of The Princess Bride.
I feel kind of bad that such a beautiful edition is wasted on a book that I thought was
Yes.
There's parts that I love about it, and I think I love it more like as an entity than just like dissecting it like things that I love about it. But I definitely have issues with it, which I'm sure we'll get into soon.
So many. Yeah, parts that I was reading and I was like, oh, this is sweet. I really like this. But like those were kind of few and far between.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, I mean, I don't know how quickly we want to dive into things, but just thinking about like the fire swamp scene like gets me so annoyed because there's all these like cute moments and then Buttercup will be like, not a single syllabub, and I'm like, why are you making her dumb? She doesn't have to be dumb.
I think I literally wrote on that page about like why is she stupid?
Yeah.
I'm just gonna grab my headphones. I will be back in 1 sec, but keep talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm so glad they cut that out of the movie.
I think if they left in a lot of how certain people are characterized in this, like the movie would have flopped.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they also butchered Wesley in the book, frankly.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
I think
and the endearing like grandfather telling it to a grandson in the movie is great. And then
it's so much better.
The father to son and then new father to son that he doesn't seem to like.
Yeah.
Horrible.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, I think it's real heartbreaking that his relationship with his father is so sweet and so lovely, and they have this bond that they then have this story that they share forever, and then his son comes along and he's like, oh man, this kid is fat. I hate him.
I know.
Right? But at the same time, I struggled with the initial like father-son relationship because he seemed to talk down on the barber and talk down on the immigrant, and like he's just a jaded, horrible man.
It's true. That part is definitely true.
Yeah, I think the framing device works so much better in the movie. And it's like funny when you get those parts that are actually the same as in the book, like when he's like, well, who gets Humperdinck? The bad guy can't win. Like, that's the same. And it like works in both, but just the actual, I don't know, knowing Goldberg's characterization, or Goldman's rather, and why would he, I don't understand, because he's making himself be that character. So it's like, why would you characterize yourself as a jerk? Like, the first thing you tell us is you're like at the pool hitting on this model, like while you're on the phone with your wife. Like, I don't like you right now.
Yeah, and like trying to rush through finding a present for your son because, oh my goodness, Sandy, I'm so sorry this is taking so long because I want to bone you.
Yeah, I hate it.
It was truly beautiful. I can understand the use of like oh god, would you call it a mechanism? Not really, but like the tool of having yourself as an author inserted within the work. I just will never understand why he had to make himself.
It's a weird plot device to choose, and at least if you choose it, make yourself like not totally a disagreeable, horrible person.
Agreed.
Unless there was a secret purpose to it all along, and we're just not smart enough to realize.
Maybe so.
If there is a secret reason, it evades me.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And it's...
you'd get through it in the actual story, but then you'd come to some of the abridgment parts where he's like inserting himself again, and it's like, just leave it out. You're reminding me how much I don't like you.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people have said the same thing from what I've read as well. It's just a very confusing insert.
Yeah, I had to stop after the first like chapter thing and Google, was he such a horrible person, or is this just like a terrible character?
I did that too. I literally was like looking up all of the Wikipedia and biography pages about him, being like, please, dear Lord, what is going on here?
Is he that horrible, or like is this just a terrible writing decision?
I was doing the same thing, and then I went back over the first chapter and highlighted all the bits that weren't real as like a reassurance to myself. I was like, oh, it's okay. This part is okay.
There is no Helen, no Jason.
Yeah.
Presumably he's not horrible to his actual children.
We can only hope.
And wife.
Yeah.
Poor Helen. We stand Helen.
Yeah. She deserves better.
So much better. And poor Jason.
Yeah. He's just out here being a kid. Leave him alone. I think it's really weird too that like in the parts where he's like describing what he's cut from the story, he'll be like, critics have claimed that this is some of Morgenstern's finest satire, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, you're cutting satire? Your whole book is a satire. Like, that's so weird to be like, and that's the part I'm excluding, but really I'm including it in saying so.
It's an interesting
so many layers.
Yeah, well, that's the thing that he kind of does with a lot of this book, is that he sets it up to be the finest fantasy, the finest love story, the finest action story, and then he immediately turns around and is like, nah, I'm not going to give you what you expect from that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting to see that he also does that with satire, where it's like, this is the finest satire, not for you, but for, you know, the lucky Florinese who get to read it.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah, because he does that with the with like Wesley and Buttercup's reunion. He's like, you're probably wondering what they said to each other, but that's their beautiful moment. We're going to keep it a secret. It's like, well, but I wanted to read the romance, sir.
Right? Or dear reader, just go email my publisher.
That was a delightful moment.
You really can. Yeah, it's nuts.
It was a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
The one thing that did make it easier is that I think, from what I remember, because I was on vacation when the watch along was happening and I couldn't get it up to watch it. But from what I remember, so much of the book reads almost exactly like the movie. So it's pretty easy to get through
The
it.
dialogue.
Yeah.
The dialogue especially is like almost verbatim.
Yeah,
exactly.
which I
Is
love.
verbatim in other parts. Yeah, I was thinking about that too, and I think I could be wrong, but I feel like that's a testament to the fact that William Goldman worked as a screenwriter for a lot of movies before he wrote this book, and also worked on this film when it was adapted as well. So he has like that huge strength in writing wordplay that he's like, I don't need anyone else to turn this into dialogue for me. It's here.
Yeah.
I've got it. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting as well to read and to know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vanessa says it was such a close adaptation, which was so nice because so many of them you read the book and you watch the movie and you're like, one of these is clearly better. In this case, one of them is clearly better, but like not.
It's the other way around.
Yeah,
Perfect.
and not for the usual reasons.
Molly says it was such a close adaptation. It was. It's true.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I this is probably one of the few like book to movie adaptations that I can think of where the movie is like genuinely like a classic in its own right and like bigger than the book. I can't really like, I don't know, I've struggled to think of anything else that parallels it in that respect.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Definitely.
Like there are movies from books that are great, but all of them are ones where you also know that the books are classics, like Lord of the Rings and that kind of stuff. Like you're like both of them kind of side by side. Whereas this one, it's like most people haven't read the book, but most people have definitely watched the movie.
Mm-hmm. And I also think it's one of the few that people would argue, oh, I like the movie better than the book, which is not always the case.
Yeah,
it's true. It's true.
Yeah, and that probably, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Vanessa said the one of the editions she was reading from had backstories for Amita. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite parts.
Yes, yeah. That was
Inigo, I think, is my favorite character, so I love those parts.
Inigo's story was very sweet.
I had a hard time with Fezzik's backstory because I was like, this is just like
the
out of the realm of believable. But the Inigo one is like so sweet. Sad. But I liked it.
Yeah. That was an odd one. It's true.
Yeah. And I understand
like the
why they're not in the movie.
I liked I don't know how to say this, but like, because I read that section after we'd done our watch along, and I think one of the funny tweets that I wrote during our watch along was like, "Oh, unemployed in Greenland sounds fucking great, yo!" And then like in the book, he's like, "Greenland's the worst place to be unemployed. There's no one around, and I'm lonely." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, maybe that makes more sense."
Exactly.
They are so sweet. I honestly think that like Inigo and Fezzik's relationship was like more darling to read about than Wesley and Buttercup's, in my opinion. Like I think they have such a genuine friendship, like with the rhymes and like the keeping each other company. Whereas like we see Wesley and Buttercup like butt heads over stupid stuff and have miscommunication issues and
yeah. They're like held up as the paragon of love, but not really given any more fleshing out beyond that. It's kind of like, these are just our titular characters. We just, that's it. That's all we need to know about them. Just love them because of that and don't love them because of anything else.
Yeah. We are told they are the greatest love story, and then we are shown that Buttercup is rude and Wesley is annoying.
Patronizing?
And then they can't get along at all.
Yeah.
That's
true.
Clearly the greatest love story ever.
Yeah. I agree with her being patronizing, but I do love the parts in the beginning when she's just still like the rough, like farm girl, and she's like, "Oh, the boys, who cares about the boys?" Like, that's right, Buttercup. Who cares what the boys like?
It's very true. What was your favorite part from the book? Simple question. Just basic.
There's so many good ones.
Basic white girl question.
Think.
And maybe to spice this question up a little bit, is it different to your favorite part in the movie?
Yes, because I don't know what my favorite part in the book is, and it's in the book, but I like it better in the movie. I love her nightmare when the old lady's like, "Boo to the queen of slime." Like, I just love that lady so much.
Love it.
I think one of my favorite parts in the book, which again also is still in the movie, so I don't know why I like it more in one than the other, is like when Buttercup goes to Humperdinck and is like, "You didn't send the ships, did you?" And she like lets him have it. And she's like, "Yes, I am a silly girl. And yes, I will go to my room. But you are this big old coward." And I just love her ripping into him because he really deserves it.
Yeah.
She does have some very good moments.
She does.
Amongst her idiocy. And I do appreciate her for that.
Yeah, I do think that my favorite part is the backstories for Inigo and Fezzik.
Yes.
And just, yeah, because so much of the other stuff was so close to the movie, and the movie was just better. So I really like the backstories because I love their characters in the movie, and you just get to love them so much more in the book. I don't know what my favorite part of the movie is, though.
Don't have to have one.
I also wish they had used more of the rhymes, more of Fezzik's rhymes in the movie.
Yeah,
Because they're so prominent in the book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and probably the part of the movie that sticks the most with me, which therefore might be my favorite, is the rhyming part when they're on the ship.
Because then no more rhyming, and I mean it.
Yeah, exactly. So it was really cute to see it come out so much more in the book.
Yeah. Fezzik's backstory, I thought, at least the first one, like I know it got a bit ridiculous with the wrestling tour and whatever. But that first moment, I think it was one of the most one of the moments when I genuinely felt like the most heartbroken and emotional in reading the entire book was that moment when his parents push him out to fight and he's like literally still like a 7-year-old child. Yeah. And when you fight, like, because you forget about it because they're talking about how big he is and how strong he is, and you forget how young he is until that sentence comes, and like that was a sucker punch to the gut for me, and I was just like,
yeah, because he starts training at 6, fighting at 9, and then traveling to fight when he's 11.
Yeah,
and I assume he's like 17 because they said late teens, so like 17 or something when his parents die.
Yeah. And it's like, of course, he's such a gentle giant when, people were making him fight. And he's like, I want to not do that.
Yeah.
Oh, Vanessa, that's a good one.
It's true. They were always so respectful and proper to each other, even when they were fighting each other to the death. They were like, "You seem a decent fellow." So it's nice finally getting to be like, yes, a decent fellow whom I don't have to kill.
Yeah. I'm glad I left you alive.
Yeah. And it's like so weird because we know who all the characters are. And even though they interact in the beginning of the story, it was like, it stood out to me when they were trying to follow the scream and find Wesley. And he was like, "Is the man in black down there?" I'm like, oh my gosh, he literally doesn't even know who he is. He's just like the man in black to them. So.
Love it. Least favorite parts in the book? There's none in the movie. We know this already.
The movie is just like gold.
The movie's perfect. Nothing should be changed.
Yeah.
I personally am not super into like the going through the zoo of death scene that Fezzik and Inigo have. That, I mean, I know it's like interesting because it's different from the movie, but I'm like, I just like, let's get through it. I want all the big action of the wedding.
Yeah, the whole zoo of death in general, I'm quite happy it doesn't exist in the movie. Like,
there's a lot of detailed hunting in the book that I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do actually appreciate that characterization of Humperdinck more in the book. Like, I hate him a lot more in the book than I do in the movie, which I respect. But it's gross. I don't want to hear about him strangling an orangutan. Thanks.
No. No. I think so. My least favorite part of the book was clearly the very first chapter.
Oh, I wasn't even including that because I skimmed it. I was like, goodbye.
I read the entire thing and then I walked away and couldn't read it for an entire day because I was so mad.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So,
I was rereading the book, so I was like, I'm allowed to skip it because I did read it in full before.
yeah.
I've paid my
Yeah.
dues.
And then almost most of the scenes that had Buttercup in them, because I like her so much in the movie, and
I
she just
know.
is like horrible and vapid and dumb, and
Vapid is
I
a good
don't
word.
like her in the book,
Yeah.
and it just made me so sad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go big and just be like all of the ending. Just all of it.
Yeah.
Everything from like the moment where the movie ends, like onwards in the book.
Yep. Yeah.
That's fair.
No, I feel that.
Wait, now I want to like look back.
Just all of it. I don't know. Is it? I'm assuming this is the part that you guys have in your book too, but like the part that's with Buttercup's baby, the extra book part.
Yeah, I also didn't read that or the Fezzik chapter.
Yeah, just get rid of that.
I didn't want that in my life, so I was like, I'm just not going to read that. Which usually I'd be like, oh, a baby, I'll read it. And I was like, just don't mess with the Princess Bride. I want it just how it is. Also, agree. I do not want to see who is supposedly the true loves of the story physically abusing each other. Thanks.
Yeah.
Although the line is in the movie. Does he hit her in the movie? He says
he does the thing and then he's like, next time I won't hesitate, bitch. Essentially.
Yeah.
Really though.
I won't hesitate, bitch.
Yeah, no, I read that he hit and I was like,
what?
No.
Does not compute.
That's not how it happens in the movie.
She's your forever love.
You wrote it wrong. Yeah, we literally are all the kid listening to the story going, that's not right. Read that again. You read it wrong. He didn't hit her. Uh-oh.
So true. So 100%. True.
One of my favorite, this is not a moment, but one of the like little writing quirks that I like, even though they're kind of annoying because they happen all the time, is the like, whenever he says like a noun like Paris, and he'll be like, this was after Paris. Like, those just make me giggle. They're dumb, but they're funny to me.
They kind of drove me a little nuts because some of them were so dumb.
But I like when they're like redundant. It'll be like, this was before fashion, but after style. And I'm like, okay,
yeah. This was after Stew, which has been around since the beginning of time.
Yeah.
This was even before Stew.
It's adding an element of satire to it because most of these kinds of stories are timeless. They happened a long time ago. And this one's like, it happened a long time ago, but also, no, it really, really didn't. Because here is time in literally every paragraph and never forget exactly where this book is in time.
Uh-huh. And the one like Wesley wearing blue jeans, which have been around longer than we realize.
Like, oh, okay.
That took me out so hard. Like, you've kind of ruined the feeling right here. Like, blue jeans? Don't tell me he's wearing blue jeans.
Yeah. I like that one too.
Yeah, Adam is the first hairdresser. I did get a good giggle out of that.
I was going to say something. I don't know what it was.
Any further questions? General-ish questions?
I think that's the biggest general. Although I was so sad that there was no like shrieking eels at that scene. Sharks.
No, it was shrieking sharks.
Yeah.
They were so lame.
They definitely weren't as cool as shrieking eels, it's true.
Yeah.
I did like Buttercup better in that scene than in the movie, though, I think.
Yeah.
It was a lot more stoic. She was like, I will die in this water if I have to.
Hmm. Yeah, that's the thing about Buttercup in the book is like it's so confusing because she has these like really strong moments where I'm like, that's the girl I love. And then she has these moments where I'm like, I don't know a basic word. And I hope Wesley thinks I'm pretty. And I'm like, what is happening right now? Like, oh, it's such confusing characterization to me.
Oh, she spent 3 years going to royalty school.
Yep. Don't forget it. And actually became a princess legally. They just granted her some land. They're like, you're a princess now. It's like, this is literally the titular character of the book. Why are we going to do her dirty like this?
But she's so pretty.
She's such a pretty princess. Does either of your editions have illustrations? I'm curious.
No.
No.
Oh, that's a special anniversary thing then. Okay. They're pretty. So I was just curious, like, look, this, oh wait, I just lost it, dang it. I turned the page to see another one. So talk amongst yourselves for a moment. Or I flip. Like here's climbing the cliffs of insanity. You see?
That's so fancy.
And I liked the one after Buttercup pushes Wesley into the ravine, and now I can't find it.
I did like that scene a bit better in the book, because in the movie, from what I remember, it's like she literally just throws herself after him. And in the book, it at least says she tries to run after him.
Yeah. Look at the dramatic mask falling, and she's like, what have I done? It's cool.
Beautiful. Very pretty.
I'm so sorry if you can hear the baby crying.
I'm so happy to hear baby crying.
Yeah, that's fine.
Love baby ambiance.
The kitchen, and there is no ceiling in the kitchen currently, so everything is loud.
Oh, that would do it.
Anyway, I think that's all of the like general stuff that I remember or wrote down.
Yeah, I'm just looking through my less good notes. I have less good notes this month than I did last month.
Yeah.
Well, last month you were thorough. I was like, oh my gosh.
Because this one isn't really a classic. Like it's a classic in a different sense of the word. So I was like, I'm out of my depth here. Where are my themes?
Yeah, I had an easier time taking notes on this one, but I also, like, it's easier when you're comparing two things that you know really well.
This is true.
That's true. I mean, I have lots of notes, but they're all stuff like Fezzik is a sweetheart and
correct,
that kind of stuff. Like not really classic-y discussion-y notes, more just like, yeah, there we go. Me being like, what now?
I was surprised, given that.
Right. That was the God, this is a good what now moment. This is when they were still talking about who the most beautiful woman was in the world at different stages of Buttercup's life. And it's just like, there have only been 11 perfect complexions in all of India. And I'm like, what? Just some subtle racism right there.
I mean, there was less subtle racism earlier in the book.
Oh God, yeah.
Correct.
That one was really. There's some less subtle racism and fat shaming and women shaming kind of dotted all throughout the book.
Yeah.
Fun.
I am
and that other woman who was the most beautiful woman in the world until someone showed her chocolate and then she was no longer beautiful. And I was just like, fuck off.
Yeah.
Get out.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was really hard to get into the book.
The beginning is rough. Yeah. And even like typically in the movie, like I feel like I'm not super invested until we get to the like what as you wish meant, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, it's happening, and that's like so exciting. But in the book it's like slam the door in her face, she goes back to her room and like ponders this for eternity, and then he's like, I'm leaving.
I do love that moment in the book though, where she's like, I love you, and he's like, I'm leaving, and I'm like, yes. I love this non sequitur. And whereas in the book, he's all like, I will stay here and be romantic for a few days. Sorry, in the movie, when they're like, clearly they've been hanging out and being in love for a few days before he leaves. Whereas in the book, he's just like, I'm out.
And then they shake hands, and you're left almost without even a kiss, which is like...
Love it.
An interesting decision.
Yeah. That's one of the moments I think when like the writing surprises me in a good way, is when she's like, not even a kiss, or whatever she says. Just because like the tone is generally like so goofy and satiric and just like tongue in cheek, that those couple of moments when the writing is really nice, I'm like, wow, you have it in you. Look at that. Like this one I saved when I read it because I was like, that's so pretty. I think this is like right before they go into the fire swamp or whatever, but it says, Buttercup was searching somewhere for a sufficiency of courage. Evidently, she found it in his eyes. I'm like, that's so cute.
Yeah.
They just had those little moments like peppered in, but then every other moment of time I did not like her.
I know. Super confusing.
I'm glad that I knew the movie before the book.
Me too.
Absolutely.
Although I also think it's unsurprising that we knew the movie before the book, because the movie
is the icon.
Yeah.
And the book is not so good.
Yeah. And the movie has like so much fun trivia, and I like love hearing about the cast, but nothing about the book makes me go like, oh, I want to look this up about him writing the book. It's like, no, not really.
There's lots of good fencing terms.
There sure is.
There is a lot of them.
Okay. Oh my gosh.
I'm going to need to do some shuffling so that I can plug my laptop in, because I was dumb and didn't do that.
Oh, shuffle away.
Best of luck.
Look at me go. Look at me now, Dad. I think I'm going to have to, Currently you're on a desk, but I'm just going to have to move you guys a lot closer. There we go. Everything's going to be okay. Well then, does anyone have any other questions about characters or anything? If we move on to characters, relationships, we've kind of already talked about that.
Let's do it even more.
Okay. Why do you think that the relationships between the male characters seem to be better than the relationships between the men and the women in the book?
Oh, sexism. I thought we answered that one already.
Yeah, because the male characters, from what I was reading, had so much more characterization and information and depth, and then the woman was just like, you're pretty, you're not, you exist solely to birth a male, and then
you kind of have
your looks.
A relationship between two people versus a relationship between a person and an object.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, you just made me want to look something up, though.
Do it.
Searching. Yeah, because if I'm being real, which is a little ironic for this book. Dang it, I want to find it. I think the best relationship between a man and a woman in this book is Buttercup's parents. because of that part in the beginning that's so sweet that I just had to search for, where the prince walks by, and Buttercup's mother's like, "How lucky we are to have seen them pass by," and he goes, "Now I can die." She glanced at him.
Yeah.
Don't. Her tone was surprisingly tender, and she probably sensed how important he really was to her, because when he did die 2 years further on, she went right after, and most of the people who knew her well agreed it was the sudden lack of opposition that undid her. Like, I love that.
It wasn't a perfect relationship, but at least it was a relationship between two people with actual like personalities and like ability to butt against each other and care about each other.
Right. Because in the moments that Wesley and Buttercup butt against each other, I'm like, I don't like this dynamic.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I agree.
But Molly, I definitely agree with what you said about just like the men getting better characterization. Like, I think it really comes down to that.
Yeah, because I was reading I don't even remember where I was reading it. It might have been on Twitter, but I was reading something about how the key in writing a romance is like you have to build enough of each of the characters in it so that the reader sees that they deserve each other and they need each other. So it like you can't have these good male-female or romance, in this case, relationships when you don't do anything about the female character.
Mm-hmm.
Would you argue that they did much about the male character in that true love arc either, though? Like, does Wesley have much?
I don't think he has much to it, but he at least
he has more than Buttercup. But I would argue that he doesn't even necessarily have enough to really make a good romance either. Like both of them lack.
It's just I've loved you forever, even though you were always horrible to me.
Yes, exactly.
But then
I agree with Vanessa.
Yeah, and then past that, at least like you get the story of like, this is what I've been doing. This is how I've changed. I don't know. Did he change that much? But more than just like, oh, you were a farm girl. You were a man. And
I think
you went to 3 years of princess school, but we breezed past absolutely everything and give you a sentence about it.
Mm-hmm. I think Humperdinck's characterization was stronger than either Wesley's or Buttercup's. Like, I can tell you his passions, his hobbies, his motivations, like what his childhood was like. Like, I know that guy inside and out.
I like the author said they like each other, I guess.
Yeah.
That's basically what it comes down to, though. Like, we're just relying on him being like, this is a love story, and we're all like, well, okay then.
If you say so.
You mean a love story between Inigo and Fezzik and their beautiful relationship? Because, like, I buy that.
Agreed. Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. And I think, I mean, we're still talking about relationships, so it might not be the time to dive into it, but I think, well, no, I guess you can count Inigo and his relationship with his father, which is what I was going to get into. I think that's the strongest, probably, of the whole book. Like, that's the scene where he loses his father and the scene where he avenges his father are, like, the only ones in the book that elicit any emotion from me. Like, that's good stuff.
Yeah, everything else is so breezed over, but that one is like, you feel how much his dad meant, and it was like him and his dad against the world, and
wait, let me find that. Gotta find that illustration. Look, he's like standing in the shadow of the six of the count. And he's like, I'm gonna fight you.
Oh,
my dad. Ouch, my heart.
So sad.
Yeah.
The 10-year-old going up against a count.
I know.
Chef's kiss.
It really is. And I love, too, that in the movie, this is less related, but I'm going to say it anyways. And I don't want to give exact facts because I'll probably butcher it and someone will be like, actually, you're wrong. but I think like in interviews, Mandy Patinkin said that like he had lost his father either during filming or really close to the time of filming. So that scene is like, ooh, he really meant it when he said, I want my father back.
Yeah, he lost his father to cancer not long after they started filming, and to use that as his fuel in the duel, in that duel scene. Yeah, so that moment when he's like, I want my father back, you son of a bitch, is just...
I get goosebumps thinking about it.
Hurts. Any other character-related questions? I don't really have a lot.
I don't have a lot like general character questions.
That's fair. Let's move on to something else then.
Let's do it.
Do we talk about plot? Is there much to say about plot? Just that it is a plot.
It is a plot. Things happened.
It tends to follow that kind of disconnected adventure novel style, sort of like The Hobbit, where each sort of chapter is its own little mini story, its own little sort of environment.
Mm-hmm. Let's see what's going on with Humperdinck. Let's see what's going on with Fezzik. Da, 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 da.
But also, like, the Fire Swamp is its own thing, and then like the chase and the death suit. Like, you've got those like mini little obstacles for them to
overcome. To bunny hop over.
Dolphin swim. I don't know what that was. That's beautiful. I don't know. I normally separate these things out into like context, characters, plot, setting, and themes, but I feel like plot and setting for me, I have nothing. I've just got dots. Literal, just like...
I mean, yeah, I don't know what there would be to say about the setting. I think it's
not as like important in this book as it can be in, say, like Midsummer Night's Dream, where the setting is, you know, a huge contender in the whole story.
Yeah.
I don't know what this was for, but that's cute. There's a little... Well then, let's talk about themes. Themes are much more exciting.
There's so many.
True love.
True love.
Exists because I say it does.
It's true. This book is, its little byline is, it's a classic tale of adventure and true love. So, do we agree with that?
I guess it depends on your definition of true love, because like typically in like a fairy tale type of setting, I guess in my mind, true love is kind of more like a unit, and they are trying to overcome these like outside forces that are trying to keep them apart, which is true in this book. But also, we see like the contention there and things that aren't just like everything is hunky-dory and we're perfect together. So if you define true love as like we overcome whatever is in our way, then sure. But I don't know.
I would agree that the concept of love that is being explored in this book is much more the archaic fairy tale type true love than like a romance true love that we would look for in other genres. It's definitely more like, the Cinderella story where man meets woman and they live happily ever after kind of thing, and you don't question anything else about it.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know, like they overcame stuff, but I couldn't get into anything about their relationship.
Yeah. It's very difficult too at parts. There are some scenes where I'm like, I get it, and there are some scenes where I'm like, okay, I guess you're in love still, even though that was a weird moment.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It is like in real life, couples have their things, but in the book, it was just uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And, like, this is like beyond just a real life squabble.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I want to read that ending part again.
Mm. It's definitely a common, like a very prevalent device throughout the whole book. Like Vanessa says, the belief in true love extends beyond the main two characters and into all of these side characters as well, where a lot of what they do and a lot of their involvement in the story is for the sake of true love or for someone else's true love as well.
Miracle Max, well, kind of.
My child's with the background.
Everyone's reading. I love him. He's so sweet. I personally think that this fits into a lot of what William Goldman is doing with his satire throughout the whole book in general.
Yeah.
Is that you know, this book he's like, it's a true love story. So like its genre is a story of true love, a romance kind of story. But then he spends a lot of time not focusing on that at all. Until it's not, like, when you read it, it's not a true love story, even though it's kind of advertised as one. And I think that he does that with a lot of the other genres that this book says that it is as well, or touches on. Like, it touches on a lot of genres, but doesn't necessarily fit into any one genre as you read through it. Like, it's a satire, it's an adventure, it's a fairy tale, it's a lot of things, but it's also kind of none of them.
It skips all of the bones that hold those things inside the genre.
Like, the thing that, like, if you were reading a fairy tale, it's like the thing that you would look for and it isn't there. Or like if you were reading a satire book, the thing that you'd say, yes, it's a satire because it has this thing that I see in all satires, isn't always there as well.
Yeah.
I read somewhere that one of the themes that you can look for in this book is similar to that, which is the sort of the ever-going war between literary fiction and genre fiction, which is, you know, a huge thing. The idea of literary fiction is that it doesn't have a genre, it's above genre, it's too fancy for genre, and that genre fiction is what the masses read for entertainment. And this book kind of, like, it says that it's a classic, and it also says that it's a whole bunch of genre fiction things as well, and it's kind of walking that line between all of it and kind of poking fun at the attitude that we have towards classics versus genre fiction.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone have any thoughts about that? Sorry, go talk.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. That is an interesting way to look at it. Like, separating yourself from the story and thinking in those terms.
Julia has thinking face.
I'm thinking of how to tie two thoughts together. So read Vanessa's comment first, and then maybe I'll be able to.
It's a delicate thing to try, a procedure to try and do.
It is.
I love that the author agreed that the genre fiction parts were more important than all the literary or historical parts that he cut out. That's true.
A very good point. That's
and I think
what I was thinking about. So let's just stay on that note.
A lot of that also comes from his the inserts that we hate so much as well. Yeah. His author inserts. He uses that to give himself a lot more freedom than either the author or the audience normally have when reading or writing a book. Like, he can poke fun at what is literally his own work by pretending that it's someone else's work. Mm-hmm. And he uses that to make fun of the literary genre, even though the literary genre is what he's written as well.
Yeah. It's almost like he's tried to write this kind of like half-assed story that is this great romance and great adventure, and then makes fun of it the entire time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And isn't that wild to think, like, what if someone genuinely, like, translated a book that way? They were like, here's the story, this part is dumb, I'm cutting it out, and, like, wrote that into the book. Mm-hmm. Like, that's just so weird. Or, like, was adding parentheses with, like, this means this. Okay, anyways, like, that would just be crazy.
Yeah, when I start seeing parentheses in books, I lose interest. I don't read them. They're annoying. I can handle one or two, because like sometimes they're necessary, but like this one, there was some pages had like 5 on a page.
Mm-hmm. And they're not footnotes. It's not like, here's an asterisk, you can read that if you want to know more. It's like, I am telling you the story and you're going to get this part of the information too, even though it's not even in the narrative.
Yeah, exactly. There was a single asterisk in the entire thing, and that was in one of his abridgment parts. and that was just like, oh yeah, by the way, now we've gone beyond mail. Go to this website.
Mm-hmm. It does raise some interesting questions about translation in general, though. Like, obviously, this is a book that he wrote and then translated himself.
Yeah.
Or pretended to translate, so he can do all of this stuff. But that question that you asked before, Julia, about like imagining someone actually doing that, like abridging another classic or something like that, or translating, like writing a translated work like that. I think it raises some interesting questions about whether people might subconsciously do that when they're translating things anyway. Like, they may not add those thoughts in brackets, but like when it comes to translating language, the word that you choose as your translated word has connotations in your language that it may not have in the other language, and all of that, like, you can't escape that, and you can't escape putting your own thoughts onto a book when you translate it or abridge it.
That's true, because if you're like translating a sentence and it's like, he hit him, it's like, okay, when I'm putting it in English, did I say hit? Did I say slap? Did I say punch? Like, what word did I put there? They're all kind of the same, but you can flavor the story kind of as you choose.
One of the biggest questions in that respect is actually related to that the book The Stranger, The Outsider, the one that was translated from French. I haven't read it. But I remember reading not that long ago that literally the first sentence in it has a translation of the word mother from French to English that helps increase the characterization of this character, because like it says mother was dead is the first sentence, and that's in English. But there's been this huge sort of debacle about whether they should have translated that word as mother versus like mum or mama or something like that. And it's immediately kind of created this distance, like this emotional distance in this character that may not even necessarily be there in the French version as well, which is like, it's like this huge thing. And it's stuff like that. Like you pick your word and it affects how an entire group of language speakers view that book from then on.
Yeah, so perhaps that entire Buttercup's love speech to Wesley, maybe it's so much better in Florin than it is in English. Because it's terrible in English.
You're so right.
Maybe in its
original... It might have been the most poetic thing ever.
Maybe it's beautiful.
Could be.
I do, honestly. I wonder, like, whether I would read, like, if someone, I don't know, what's a really long classic that I hate? I don't know, like if someone did it to like Vanity Fair or like some Dickens or something, just like went to town on it and abridged it. And was like, if all of this part can get wrecked, like I'd be down for that, I think.
I could definitely read a sassy abridged Dickens for sure. Oh. And this is so interesting that we're even having this whole conversation now, considering there's like 100% chance that we're going to be reading a translated book next month. So
Yeah, that's true.
this book got me
Speaking
to
of
play
which,
again.
we still need to put up that poll.
Wink,
I
wink.
realized this afternoon that I totally forgot to pick a book and message it.
Yes, someone. Oh my god, that's a good suggestion. Anna Karenina, someone please abridge.
Abridge that.
That could be very well done.
I think one of my favorite tweets that I ever wrote was one that I just rage tweeted while reading this, and it was like, classics are fun because I'm a third of the way into this book and all they've done so far is talk about Bolshevism and the actual story hasn't started, and isn't that great? Like,
Yes.
oh dear. Anyway, should we do a mini sidebar? Do you want to nominate a book, Molly, and I'll post the poll now.
No pressure.
Whips out for it. I'm very conveniently leaving myself to last because I'm hoping you guys will cross off some of my nominations so that I can choose better.
That's gonna be so hard. So I didn't do a lot of research because I had a lot of phone issues, hence the new phone.
Oh,
Fair.
So I finally have something that functions again.
Congrats on the new phone.
It's a beautiful feeling. And literally whenever we talk about like more Spanish style classics, the only thing that comes to my mind is Love in a Time of Cholera. And I despise that book so much. Yeah, I hate it. I'm sorry.
it's all good. It's all good.
So yeah, that's all that came to my mind every time. And I was like, if anyone picks this and then it wins the poll, I might cry. And then you guys are just going to have to listen to me rage the entire time.
Rage is an emotion. We can talk about, we can do that.
It would make for a spicy live show.
Have you read 100 Years of Solitude by Gabrielle instead? That one is a good one.
Maybe I'd like that more. Because it wasn't the writing per se that I had an issue with. It was the characters. I hated the characters.
That's fair. Yeah, I haven't read Love in the Time of Cholera, but I have read 100 Years of Solitude, and that's one of my top books, possibly ever. Like it was really good.
I've heard very good things about it.
Then don't go and read Love in the Time of Cholera.
Okay.
No.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Yeah, it's what's his name? Is it like Florentino or something? I think is the main male character, and he's just like, he's creepy and he is kind of assaulty and stalkery, and he grooms young children in it while he's waiting for I can't remember her name. It's horrible.
Oh God.
I appreciate you remembering that, Vanessa.
That's so considerate.
Love it.
It's bad. It's bad. I'm sorry. I'm gonna focus.
While you're deciding, should we say what our theme is?
Yes. Yes, we should. For all those delightful people watching, cough, Vanessa, cough. The theme of the month is in celebration of it's Hispanic History Month, yeah?
We.
Yeah. We're reading Hispanic books translated into French.
Oh my God.
Yes, so we've all picked a Latinx classic, or are picking one to read.
Yes.
So far we have, what's it called? The Donna and Her Two Husbands or something?
I think it's Donna Flor and Her Two Husbands. Yeah.
Yes, Donna Flor and Her Two Husbands.
Which I don't know a ton about.
Author, but I do
agree. That photo is just gorgeous. I can provide the minimal information that I know about it.
Do it. Give us the elevator pitch.
Yes, exactly. It's the author is Brazilian, so it's translated from Portuguese, and it is about a woman who gets married and she's having a pretty good life with her husband, but then I think he is like drinking and gambling and stuff, and then he dies, so she gets remarried, but then her first husband comes back like as a ghost and just continues to hang out in their house. wreaking havoc. So sounds fun.
10 out of 10. Vanessa can't advertise hers. I mean, she can. She'll just have to
She can
text
type it.
You can type it out. In scrolling through this list, the cover that jumps out the most to me is The Old Gringo.
I have never heard of this.
Tell us about it. I saw it when I was also perusing some lists, but I didn't read what it was about.
It's The Old Gringo by Carlos Fuentes.
Yeah.
And it says, tells the story of Ambrose, I don't know how to say the last name, Bierce maybe? The American writer, soldier, and journalist, and of his last mysterious days in Mexico, living among Pancho Villa's soldiers, particularly his encounter with General Tomas Arroyo. In the end, the incompatibility of the two countries, or paradoxically, their intimacy, claims both men in a novel that is most of all about the tragic history of two cultures in conflict.
Oh. I'm glad the word novel was in there because I was about to ask if it was nonfiction.
It says novel, and it says it is...
It's biographical novel, yeah?
Yeah, I think so. And it says it is Carlos Fuentes' greatest work.
Ooh. Thank you, Carlos.
To be fair, if it's his only work, that's a pretty easy achievement. I'm not saying that is, but like there are some paradigms to that might need to be added.
Okay, let me go back to that. I think I had a thing. He wrote from like, let me see. This one doesn't say. Oh yeah. He wrote 24 novels.
Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, there we go. Much better.
Number one out of 24.
And he lived from 1928 until 2012. So, could be interesting.
Nice.
In 1987, he received the Cervantes Prize, the Spanish-speaking world's highest literary honor.
Nice.
So it is a classic and could be interesting. I like the cover. The cover is interesting.
That'll do. Vanessa's pick is The House of the Spirits by Isabel Allende.
Thank you. I was trying to look up what it even is because I was like, what book did she pick? Tell us about it.
This is one of those books, one of a few books that would be considered sort of the pinnacle of magical realism from memory. And it's a literary fiction book that details the life of the Trueba family spanning 4 generations.
I was just about to say that. I was like, it's a generational story, right?
Yeah, it's a generational story set in the post-colonial sort of political stuff that happens in Chile. Yes, that's about all that I can say about it at this point, except that it is, magical realism and a very, very critically acclaimed book.
Yeah.
And now I'm down to 2.
Well, do you need us to flip the coin?
Well, I'm trying to decide between whether I want to nominate the collection of love poems by Pablo Neruda or if I want to do 100 Years of Solitude again, because that's a good book. Yeah. I'm probably going to pick 100 Years of Solitude, though, because I read it once and loved it, and I would love to read it and, like, explore it again, because I know that it has a lot going on.
Respect.
Which is also a generational story. Generational magical realism story.
Clearly you enjoy those.
They're good.
I haven't read The House of Spirits. The House of the Spirits. House of Spirits. Look at me go wording.
Whatever articles are in the title. I think it's the House of the
Spirits.
Just
I think
Spirits?
it's... Yeah.
I'll double check.
I don't know. The House of the Spirits, yes. Anyway. Oh, see? This is why I can't choose. How dare you?
I mean, I'll just say this. I think if we offer up poetry, that stands a very good chance of winning just because of length. Like, I
This
think
is
my
true.
book sounds great plot-wise, but I think it's also like 500 pages. No. I don't know if anyone would vote for it if they researched it.
Sneaks that in at the end.
But it sounds interesting.
It does sound interesting, and it does have a movie adaptation. We
Does
wouldn't be
it?
able to watch. Yeah, that's when I tried to search for the book. That's all I could find.
Oh,
I was like,
Interesting.
good to know. Well, what's your
it'll
pick
be a
gonna be?
surprise. I don't know.
There's
I
a
love
there's
them. I was
there's
really
a,
hoping someone else would pick one of them so that I could pick the other one and just have like all of my stands in one poll, but no.
we are sorry.
No.
We did not cooperate.
How dare you have your own minds and your own preferences?
Cruel.
I'm not very good at poetry, but I do want to try. But I don't know if translated poetry is the way to start trying.
That seems even riskier than a translated novel to me. Like, poetry is,
Poetry
you know.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too, or wondering. Like, that's like if I don't get poetry in my own language, leaping in with translated poetry is kind of just like diving headfirst, hands and feet tied into a pool of water.
Yeah. But I could send you the titles of 2 poetry books that are beautiful.
Bring it on. Yeah, I've already made one video of me trying to read poetry and I'm looking to do more. So
I'll go downstairs and find them after we're done, and I'll send you the names because they're so. I read them and I was like, I have to read them again. They're so good. They're beautiful, and they're not. It's not modern style.
Oh,
perfect.
then I'm
That's better.
intrigued.
It's
That's
long
better.
form.
If it's not modern, yeah, if it's modern poetry, I'm almost immediately out. Like I have tried reading modern poetry a few times, and
I've read a couple of the modern poetry books, and like I can't get above like a 2.5 star on the whole thing because it's just. I don't feel it. I don't connect.
it doesn't. I don't think it does what poetry should do. Like the whole idea of poetry is the depth and the layers and stuff. And I feel like modern poetry is literally just like, these are my feelings.
Yes.
These are all my cards. They're on the table.
Yeah. But it should like
there they are.
Emotions and make you think and make you uncomfortable, which some of it did in the one book that I read. It was so good though.
I'm down for that. Anyway, are we brave enough for translated poetry?
Well, I was going to say, if you can't pick, I will literally, you can't see that.
Flip a coin.
To choose for you.
Okay, fine. Spin a wheel. Do it.
Okay. Make sure you can see. I didn't know what the poetry is called, so I just put Pablo Neruda. I can't tell.
That's fine. I think it is just a collection of love poems. So.
Ooh, chance.
It's so dramatic. Oh my God, it's so close.
Oh,
all right.
All right. Poetry. Translated poetry it is.
I love that wheel.
Perfect. It was meant to be.
Clearly, we did talk a lot about it before it won, so
yeah,
we must be quite intrigued.
I will have to. All right, I'm going to post the poll now, just because that way at least I remember. Actually, I can't be bothered. All right, what should I say? It's time, yo.
Pick a book, bitch.
What up? It's your bitch Hispanic History Month. Pick a read.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Donna, Flor, and Oh, this is not going to fit. It's just going to have to be shortened.
Yeah, I forgot those not Instagram, those Twitter poll. They have a
They're so short.
A small character limit.
We can always put pictures of the books on a additional.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
There we go.
That's a very good idea.
Of the spirits. What's yours called? The Old Gringo?
Yeah, the Old Gringo.
Love it. And then Pablo Neruda. What's his actual poetry collection called? We still don't know.
Yes,
Just
I don't know.
poems. I think it's called Love Poets.
That sounds right.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, there's one that's the poetry of, and there's one that's just love poems.
Yeah, I think the one that I was looking for was Love Poems.
Love poems sounds good.
I mean, either way, whatever we pick will be a fun and interesting read. So.
True.
This is very true. I have zero regrets. I mean, zero worries, anxieties, anything. I don't know.
I have zero
nothing.
Preemptive regrets.
There we go. Concerns. That's probably the word I'm looking for.
There you go.
It's out there. It's ready to go. All right. Well, that was a very long sidebar. Does anyone have anything else to say about The Princess Bride?
I'm glad we got to rewatch the movie.
Only always. I'm sad that we didn't get to watch Treasure Planet or The Muppet Treasure Island, though.
I love Muppet Treasure Island.
I know. I would have been more keen to watch Treasure Planet, but that's fine.
Listen, I just always want an excuse to talk about why I think the Muppets are like brilliant. Talk about your satire. I love the Muppet movies so much. Molly, I know you have your issues with them. Don't even look at me right now.
Maybe I should try to experience it again as an adult and not have my experiences colored by annoying childhood recollections. Yeah. Maybe. I
think they're
all
very
of this
clever.
is in an alternate timeline anyway, because we didn't watch Muppet Treasure Island. And
true.
Instead, we watched a beautiful classic film.
With very few pirates.
Yeah.
One, specifically.
Yeah.
One pirate.
It fit so loosely. But it was a great movie. Mediocre book, great movie.
Yeah. But yeah, we could probably count the number of times they said the word pirate on our fingers.
And
I'd say
it's
so.
pretty much always in the Dread Pirate Roberts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's always a proper noun.
Yeah.
One specific pirate.
Yes. Well,
anyway.
Cool beans.
Yeah. No further thoughts? No final parting words?
I think that's everything because it's hard to go farther into themes other than what we've discussed because it's all so vaguely there.
It's not really a very thematic book,
No.
It's
like, here
just
is the story, I tell you how it is, and you accept what I'm telling you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of a classic more in the cult classic sense of the word than in the literary classic, which is fine. It's a good deviation.
Not mad about that. I think my final words would be, hello, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. My final thoughts.
Well, then perhaps mine will be as you wish.
Huh.
Mine will be my favorite line from the book. I am a dead cookie.
On that note, we can wrap it up.
I'm okay with that. All right. I'm going to end the stream now. Bye, viewers.